Alright, here's video 2 for Araby. The conclusion. Epic. So we can conclude that his uncle is probably drinking, as, like I said, would have been the case pretty much for everyone in the world at this point. But he eventually comes home and gives him the money to go to Araby, and he travels there. And what happens from there is like the most strange climax to a story ever. And if you're not used to these types of short stories, it can really just confuse the ever-living mess out of you. He goes to Araby, and it's closing. So Araby is this place where it's very exotic. You know, you can imagine that there's probably like, you know, exotic animals, exotic fabrics, jewelry, just stuff. And people go there. It would be entertaining just to go to Araby and look around, whether you were going to purchase something or not. But he arrives really late, and it's closing. So he's seeing Araby in a way that it's not meant to be seen. Everything is just kind of sort of like folding up, right? So he's kind of seeing behind the scenes, and Araby's not very pretty when it's not functioning. It's just empty, and it's lonely, and it's not what it lives up to be. You noticing what this might actually kind of connect to? So he goes in, there's one stall left open, and I don't even remember what this lady was selling, but she's standing there, and there are two men at the stall, probably men who like work there or regulars. And what is she doing with these guys? She's joking. She's kind of like, "Oh my goodness, stop it. No, you're so naughty." What is she doing? She's flirting. Now, is there anything wrong with flirting? Not really. I mean, you know, whatever. Float your boat, dude. But what makes this flirting interesting is that she's flirting with both of them at once. So, this is a woman working in Araby, and she's engaging in, you know, semi-romantic behavior. And rather than being like this pure, very devoted kind of like spiritual connection to love that he's seeing that's playing out, it's very overtly sexual and very open. So she's just kind of like flirting with these guys, and they're playing along. They don't mind that she's flirting with both of them. So this scene's playing out in front of him, and it's like, you know, he's sitting there watching this from outside. Think about how awkward that would be. And she looks at him, and she's like, "Are you gonna buy something?" And he just kind of sits there, and he's like, "No." Why didn't he buy anything? And then at the end of the story, he's left by himself. He's holding the money in his hands, and he's looking up, and if I remember correctly, his eyes are burning with anguish and anger. That is a really interesting way of ending the story, with him just alone, clutching the money and burning with anguish and anger. What is anguish? What is anger in this instant? What is he angry at? Who is he angry at? Why anguish? What is the pain? Where did it come from? Again, this is one of the things that I usually ask students to kind of put together themselves, but it's kind of hard for you to talk back to me through the magic screen. So I'm just going to kind of lay this out for you. He's angry because he just got to look into the reality, right? Araby is this magical, wonderful, sparkling place where he's going to go and, you know, be part of this like weird magical journey. But when he gets there, he sees behind the scenes, and it's not what it lives up to be. In fact, it's probably a little depressing to get there after, you know, all the marketing stuff is over with the day. Not only does he see past the bluster and the finery of Araby to see its bare bones, but he also gets an insight into the reality of human relationships. You see where this is referencing what I was talking about before? He sees this woman just kind of acting in a raw sexual way. And again, it's not really, you know, passing a judgment on her at all, or on the men. It's just, it's real. People don't run around acting like knights and Sir Lancelot saving Lady Guinevere from the dragons. You know, it's not real. And for him to conceive of his relationship with this girl in that way is really, really silly and a little sad. It's more to do with his fantasies of being a child running through the street than it has to do with an actual human relationship with this girl. he sees her as something she can never live up to. And in reality, and again, this sounds harsh, but it's true, she probably just wanted him to buy her something. She's probably not thinking of him as her knight in shining armor, right? And you can't really hold that against her. I mean, it's more realistic. That's kind of the really just awful crap that people just do, right? So, and in fact, this kid is really lucky this girl isn't scared to death of him because he's a little creeper. So what we have here is the disillusionment, the fact that, you know, this fantasy world that he's been living in and these very powerful emotions, all of that is ripped away from him at the same time, and he's left empty and seeing how much of a child he really was. It's a really cool story because I know a lot of people who never have an Araby moment. A lot of people who stay in a very strange kind of world of childhood where they never come to terms with the fact that things aren't the way they seem. And it's a really sad thing. I'd like to think that this kid is going to, like, you know, grow up a little bit after this. I can't imagine him running around in the streets playing cowboys and Indians anymore. But then again, is that a good thing? Is it good to lose that innocence? This is a theme that's going to come up again when we look at Flannery O'Connor. You know, losing your innocence and losing that sense of naiveness about the world and that sense of majesty and wonder, that's pretty painful. It's something you can never get back either, which I think explains the anguish of what he feels. I mean, he knows that the world that he has been building up around himself is quintessentially false. It's not real. And this girl is not the person he made her out to be. It's something much, much dirtier, just like Dublin itself. Something much, much more normal. So, it's a depressing story. It's mostly what everything I explore is depressing in some way or fashion. But it is a profound one. Man, I feel like I need a lollipop now or something. That was actually more depressing for me than the Dickinson crap. Let's end it here. I posted a discussion question in the forum about epiphanies. We might broaden that a little bit. If you're seeing this video and you haven't responded to that, the epiphany for the story, you can also address it in this way. What's a personal epiphany that you have had? What is something that has come upon you and changed the way you look at the world? Yay.